Okay, so today we're gonna talk about Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I have a really special guest here, Ariel from the channel Reading and Whatnot. Ariel, like, present yourself.
Hi, I'm Ariel from Reading and Whatnot. Gabby and I read this book together as a buddy read, and it was probably my favorite time reading this book because I got to talk to somebody about it as I went.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun rereading this book as well. I've read it over 10 times, I think, in my life. But
Mm-hmm.
this time was different because I am an adult, so I got to see some things that I didn't see when I was a teen, I guess. I don't know if it happened to you as well.
This book came out the summer between eighth and ninth grade, or was it seventh and eighth grade for me? Something like that. It came out in 2003. So the first time I read it was just after the school year started, and I had to like steal it from somebody because the library didn't have it yet. And I flew through it so fast. I missed like more than half of it. And then every other time I've read it before, other than last year and this year, I just kind of picked certain spots about out of the book that like I really liked. I kind of skimmed through it. So this had my full attention this time. So yes, I think so.
So from here, we left off Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire with Cedric dead. The Dark Lord is here again, and Harry was sent back to the Dursleys with pretty much like nothing explained to him. Like
Nope.
he is just thrown into this abusive family again, and he is supposed to stay there without any information for the entire summer. People often call it the angsty book because Harry is angsty.
Well,
So,
he's not just angsty, he's angry.
and he's angry. Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, so the beginning of the book when Harry's laying in like the brush, like the shrubs in front of the house, trying to listen to the news, trying to see if anything is going on. Um, and just how he blows up after they find him and he leaves, that's the start of you seeing his anger sort of flood out. And as the book goes on, how he's like any other 16-year-old kid that has emotion because he's got PTSD. The kid's got PTSD. So he's lashing out. He's constantly screaming at people like the entire book because he doesn't know how to deal with the anger. But he is only 16. So,
Yeah, I remember when I was a teen, I was really annoyed by Harry in this book because he's like screaming at Hermione. Like Hermione, like at some point tells him like, yeah, I know, but you don't have to bite my head off every time I talk to you. But this time when I read it, I came to appreciate like the layers of Harry in this book, and I came to appreciate him so much more as a character because of this. Because I didn't, when I was a teen and I read this book, I didn't think that he was like traumatized. I was just like, oh, stop being a brat with the people who love you. But really, like he
yeah.
he just saw a fellow student die and like sent off to the Dursleys, who are like beyond horrible people.
I wonder if we felt that way because we were around the same age and we're just like, I wouldn't act like that. Or I don't know, maybe that's what it is, but like as an adult reading it now, I just wanted to hold him and tell him it was going to be okay.
And on top of that, when the Dementors come and attack him and Dudley, then he receives a letter from the ministry telling him that he is going to be expelled, and 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 he just freaks out. Obviously, then Dumbledore just sends him a message like stay still, and Sirius does as well, and Harry doesn't know what to do.
What about the letter that Dumbledore sends Petunia?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What about that? So the first time I read the book, I remember thinking that was weird because then like they're all ready to kick him out, and then it's like it's almost because see, I thought at first when I first read the book, the very first time I read the book anyway, I thought there was like blackmail on Petunia. I thought like maybe Dumbledore had something on her, and then you come to find out she just made a pact, and I was a little let down. I'm just like, where's the blackmail? But no, I mean it's a good premise.
It's really interesting because we see it like in later books, how
Mhm.
it plays out. He tells Petunia, like, remember what we agreed on. Then the order comes and to pick him up. And then we go to Grimmauld Place, which I think is a really, really interesting place. I love the Order of the Phoenix as a group, as a team. So I really enjoyed that part. I don't know,
I did
but
too. I did too, especially like kind of exploring the house and how they're cleaning it, and they're not just like what are those things that they were like trying to get out of the curtains?
the Doxys.
Oh, what are the yeah, so they're like, Molly's like, "Here you go. All right, get them." And then Fred and George are like, "In the pocket, in the pocket." Like that whole situation there just made me laugh because I'm just like, I want to do magical cleaning. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I was like, I really appreciate those moments, like in these books, making you just chill with the
Hmm.
characters and go on daily life, and you feel like hanging out with them. And that's exactly how I feel about those moments, like when they're cleaning the house in Grimmauld Place. The whole Weasley family is really interesting here, and it's really important in this book specifically. Like, the Weasleys are our favorite family in the wizarding world, at least it's mine.
Yeah,
I don't know,
it's mine too.
but like in this book, it's super, super interesting because we see a lot of this family in Molly's Bogart, when she is so afraid that anything could happen to her family. Like, you get to see the stakes of the order of the situation when she is seeing her Bogart, like her son's dead, Harry dead, Arthur's dead. In her imagination, she is like really, really upset about this. We also see Percy being
Hmm.
a jackass.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I didn't remember. I mean, I did remember that he was horrible, but I didn't remember like the extent of that.
I didn't either. I didn't remember how snarky he was too. That letter that he sends to Ron, and he's just like, "Congratulations, but stay away from Harry because all these things that the ministry says." And when I got to that point, I was like, "Oh, that little bitch. How dare you?" I completely forgot all about that letter.
I did too. And then when they went like to arrest Dumbledore, and Percy was there, like, what? Why is he there? Like, and he,
Take to dictate and take notes just because, like the Minister of Magic, he's all, "I'm awesome and Dumbledore sucks, so I need a henchman to walk around. I can't do everything myself."
can we talk a little bit about how stupid Fudge is?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
the Ministry of Magic, it cannot be more inefficient,
It's not.
and
Yep.
cannot be more inefficient. And Fudge is the most like stupidest guy ever. He has like this information in front of his face, and he chooses not to believe it just because he feels threatened by Dumbledore,
Well,
actually.
that's because he is one of the most egotistical characters of the entire series, and that's even including Lucius Malfoy. And well, I think maybe no, not Dumbledore, Voldemort, and then Fudge. Like egotistical. Like they just, I can't stand Fudge. Can't.
This all like shows so much in the trial. He makes a whole trial for a case of underage magic, and it's such, I love how Dumbledore calls him out because of this. Like,
Hmm.
he's like, okay, so we're talking about underage magic. Do you really need to make a whole trial out of this? Are you that stupid?
Well, the thing is that he needed to make a show because I don't think he was just threatened by Dumbledore. He was threatened by Harry as well. And then he had people like Lucius Malfoy in his ear going, "Harry bad, Dumbledore bad. They take your job bad. So like he did not want any sort of competition, even if it was a 16-year-old boy or a 15-year-old boy, not 16. He's
It's
15.
15.
My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get to the castle and we discover that actually the ministry is interfering at Hogwarts. Dolores Umbridge is the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and she is the most hated character in the entire fandom, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. I
She
think people literally write poems about murdering her on the internet. So, yeah, I think so.
This woman is horrible. She's a horrible teacher. She just believes that uh, school is for memorizing stuff and passing
She's not even a
tests.
teacher. She has no qualifications to teach which is why she just had them read things. She didn't teach
Uh,
them anything. She had them read things, and then if she didn't like them or wanted to punish them, then she had them do the lines with the painful pen.
that's torture. Like this
Oh
woman
yeah.
tortures children.
Could you imagine picking up that quill on accident and like starting to write something? You're like, ah, shit, wrong one.
Oh man. It's interesting how child abuse is so important in these books.
Yes, especially this one. I think this book is kind of where the end starts, if that makes any sense, because Harry is going through a lot. He's got PTSD, he's angry, he learns what the prophecy is, and then in the next book he's basically learning how what he needs to do to defeat Voldemort. So I think this book is the beginning of the end in a lot of ways, not just because of that, but because Harry grows up in this book. He becomes more relatable in this book than the previous 4 books. And I think that's really important as a reader to realize, even if, because it's a thing, most of the people I know that know Harry Potter, they know it from the movies. So that's not something that they really see in the movie, because they're like, oh, he's angry. I'm like, yeah, but do you get why?
And in the movie they don't I think they don't get the essence of Harry's
Yes, that's the
anger,
word.
you
Yeah.
know. And it's especially because there's this really I think my favorite scene in this book has to do with how Harry is growing up and how Harry is snapping, like after everything that's been happening to him since he knew he was a wizard. After Sirius's death, when Dumbledore takes him to his office and they have this talk, and Harry destroys Dumbledore's office, like so angry, and they talk, and actually Dumbledore cries for the first time
Mm-hmm.
in the series, I think. And they totally erased
Yeah.
that from the movie.
In, like you said, in the book, that he's destroying stuff, and Dumbledore's like, yeah, you can break that. Go ahead. You
I
have a good
deserve
reason
it.
to. Yeah, he's like, I deserve it. Go ahead. Keep doing it. You want to break that over there too? Sure. But, in the movie, it's not like that. And I feel like that's why it's so important to read the book. Advocating for reading.
Well, he finally understands what he has to do and how much he has to sacrifice for that. And he's angry because Dumbledore has known this the whole time and he didn't tell him because he was
Yeah.
treating him as a child. Dumbledore forced himself to see Harry as the adult that he is becoming.
I think it's that, and the fact that when they learn the prophecy, and you learn that it wasn't just him, it was Neville as well. So Voldemort had to make the educated guess on which boy it was that would be his downfall in the end. And he chose Harry. And that's it. Like, Harry's always got this, why me? Well, now he knows. And I don't know if Neville ever finds out about it. at that
I
point.
don't
I don't
think
think so.
so.
But
I
like,
don't think
that's
so.
how different would it have been for Harry? Would it be his parents in St. Mungo's that are, crazy? I know, I know. That's one of those
You know,
scenes in the book that I was very devastated was not in the movie.
I feel like they neglected Neville's character arc so much in the
Yes,
movies. In the book, when you see the scene with Neville and his parents in St. Mungo's, it's just so heartbreaking. And then
it
he
is.
comes to know that Bellatrix Lestrange just escaped from Azkaban. It's just like fire. Like it's a
That's what
feel
kicks
for
him into
him.
gear, though. Yeah. Well, like in the book, whenever they're in Segmungo's and his mom gives him that little gum wrapper, and his gran was like, throw it out, and he was like, pocket, like everything in my body went, oh.
It's so
But see, in
uh,
the movies, you don't see any of that. You just see, look, I found this room for us to do stuff in. Okay, now I'm gonna practice. That's it.
actually Neville is really skilled in the DA, in the Dumbledore's armies training sessions. He's like the best under Hermione, of course, because Hermione is Hermione.
Yeah.
But he's really good. He's really good. And then you come to kind of known at the end of the book that Neville never really had his own wand.
Yeah, it was his father's wand.
So, like, what if that has a lot to do with his travel with magic? You know what I'm talking about?
It could be, and that's an argument I hear a lot when people talk about it. So it could be that, but it also could be the fact that, his gran was like, oh well, you're never gonna be, you're not as good as your father. Like, not saying that she was a bad mother figure, but she definitely was like, you're not my son. And you could tell, like, it's a nurture thing. So it could be the wand, it could be the nurture, or it could be both.
So, let's talk about Sirius.
We're gonna get serious about Sirius.
We're
Sorry.
gonna get
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. Okay.
yeah. So so Sirius is one of my favorite characters in the series. Okay, I love Sirius. I love the Marauders in general, but I love Sirius because I think he's a really layered character. He's so loving. You can see it in book 4, especially when he goes to Harry. He stays up in the caves, like eating rats and like doing anything he can to be near Harry. And then you got in this scene in the pensive when they were bullying Snape.
Yeah,
And
it's not good.
it just breaks my heart. Like, I
It
don't
did.
know. I don't know. I am a really Marauder fan. So when I read that part this time, I was like, oh shit.
Well, yeah, because you see a whole different side of James. You see that maybe James was as big of an ass as Snape always tells Harry he was. And I feel like, later on, after him and Lily get together and they calm down, like he calms down, he grows up. But he didn't grow up fast enough for him not to be a jerk the whole time he was in school.
Yeah, and it's
Like,
really sad because Harry has always looked up to his father.
mm-hmm.
And when he sees that, he starts questioning everything.
See, I like Sirius as a character, but I also have a lot of issues with him. Yes, you and I have talked about this already. He was locked up for a long time. So he didn't have a chance to grow and evolve as an adult. So his mindset is still basically a kid. And I totally understand that. But like, when they're talking in the fire and he's in the fire, his head's in the fire. And he's like, well, James would have done it. And it's like, well, that's not James, buddy. Like he looks like his father, but he's more Lily than anything. I'm talking about Harry, sorry. So I don't know, little things like that really made me angry. And his treatment of Creature also made me angry because although it's an elf, a house elf, and he's, like its master or whatever, and Creature has obviously gone crazy after taking orders from a painting for like however many years, he's still a living thing. And I didn't like that. I felt like not only was he torturing himself, he was torturing Creature, and he was torturing Harry a little bit. I think that he's not of sound mind to give Harry advice or take care of him because he's so damaged. Now, going away from the damage point and going back to that present, I want to go to that present. He gives Harry a present before he goes to Hogwarts. And he's like, "You ever need me? This." And then for whatever reason, they communicate in fires.
Okay.
And I'm just like, and then at the end of the book, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little caught up here, but at the end of the book, he opens it and he's like, "What's
That
this?"
was a punch in the gut. That was a
It
punch in the
was.
gut. Because
It was a punch in the gut and a plot hole.
more than the plot hole, I think is like, yeah, it is.
Yes, it is, because
Yeah,
if
it
you
is.
were like, let's say I was visiting you in a fire,
I mean,
right?
I
And you needed a
understand.
secure line, I'd be like, "Go get the mirror that I gave you. We'll talk on that and it'll be fine."
I understand why Harry didn't open it when he gave it to him, because he was like, "Oh, Sirius wants to put himself in danger again and stuff, blah blah blah." But then when they went to Umbridge's office and they were chatting like their days at school, they were chatting. Lupin was laughing because Harry said something that James said in the memory, in Snape's memory.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "You're in Umbridge's office. You have
Yep.
the freaking mirror in your room. Like, serious? Why wouldn't you say something
Yeah, why
about
wouldn't you say
this?"
something? Like the entire, well, to be fair, the entire end of the book could have been completely avoided if he would have been like, "Go get that mirror that I gave you."
The thing with the mirror was a punch in the gut, like again, from Rowling after Sirius's death. I suffered with Sirius's death so so much, and I suffered like several times, because it's not just when he dies, but then like Harry's expecting Sirius to get out of the veil, and he doesn't. And
Yeah.
then he goes to Sir Nicholas, the ghost, to ask him like if Sirius gonna come back as a ghost, and he doesn't. And then he goes back to his room and finds the freaking mirror and realizes that everything could have been avoided. And it's like Sirius died like 3 times for me.
The part with nearly headless Nick, where he was like, "I was too much of a coward to go, and like only wizards can do this, like only wizards can be ghosts and stuff." I was like, "Oh no." I was like, I'm getting a little teary-eyed now.
Oh
Like
no, it's
his death really didn't bother me that much at that point, but when he had the conversation with Nick, then I was like, "Oh shit." Because like not only did Sirius die and he didn't come back, Harry's parents died too. So that's like, that hurts. That sucks. And I was feeling those emotions for him. So
yeah, for me it was really hard as well because of that, because like Sirius was the closest thing, the closest figure he had to his dad.
and then he's
like
left with literally nobody.
like everyone keeps dying in front of Harry, and I hate that.
Well, I mean, he's not completely alone. He has the Weasleys.
He has the Weasleys, he has Hagrid,
True.
he has
Dumbledore to an
Dumbledore
extent.
to an
Minerva
extent.
to an extent.
How can we
So
talk about Minerva? Like,
I
can we
love
talk
her.
about female characters here?
Yes, yes, yes. So Minerva's my favorite other than Ginny. She is a badass. I love her. So that scene where she's like going down in her nightgown and she's like, "What the heck's going on?" And she has like 4 or 5 people like shoot spells at her and she lives. I was like, damn, I want to be that tough when I'm old.
That is awesome. And I love how snappy she is to Umbridge.
Oh yeah, she doesn't care.
Like, she's furious at Umbridge all the time, and she doesn't care about their of Umbridge in
Yeah.
classes. Like, what do you want? Like, this is my class, just shut up. I really, really came to appreciate so much more like McGonagall's character in this book.
Now I want to talk about Ginny. Ginny, like I said earlier, is an extremely strong character. And in the books, she goes from being cute little shy Ginny who, you see for like 5 seconds, and she's like, Harry, oh my God. And then in the Chamber of Secrets, she's possessed. And then she goes from being like this scared kid to this beautiful, popular, friendly, strong young woman who you don't realize how great she is and powerful she is with magic until this book. Not to mention she's a kick-ass Quidditch player as
Yeah,
well.
I 100% agree with you. Ginny is a character that we don't see grow through the books. We just kind of jump from her in the Chamber of Secrets to the Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
So we see this woman that she is so strong. She's so strong in the mind as well. There's this really cool scene after Harry has the vision of Arthur being attacked by Nagini.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's afraid to talk to them and tell them that he has Voldemort in his head, and she's like, are you kidding me? You could talk to me, or did you forget that I was possessed by Voldemort?
Yes.
In the second book, and you're like, oh wow. Yes.
Well, yeah, because she's I think that experience made her a stronger person. I mean, obviously she was really young, but I think it made her a stronger person. And also, if you notice in this book, she can talk to Harry when before she couldn't talk to him because she gave up on pursuing him in a romantic way and was like, I'm going to date other boys instead. So she can talk to him and they start getting closer. And I think at this point in the story is when Harry's like, Ginny.
When Ginny shows everyone that she is a kick-ass Quidditch player, as you said, you're like, because Fred and George asked, like, how did she learn how to fly? And she was like, I know, Hermione told them.
Yeah,
like,
Hermione said.
Ginny has been stealing your brooms like for years to practice. Ginny is such a strong character, and I love how we see her here. Like, she, as I said, she jumps. Like, we don't see her grow, but how, like, the woman she is in book 5 at 14 years old is just so great.
I think we see her grow in the books. It's just not to the extent we see like Ron, Harry, or Hermione grow.
Yeah, she starts to become part of the gang here.
Yeah, she really does in this book. I want to talk about Luna. I love Luna.
Luna.
Okay, so Luna. Oh, I love her. I think that she has such an interesting mind. I think that when she, I don't know. For me, when I write things down, I'm not a writer. I know you're a writer. I'm not. But when I write things down and I'm trying to get something out, I don't write in straight lines. I kind of doodle around my page. And then when I lose track of my thought, I'll like draw all over my page. I feel like that's how Luna's mind is. Like if I had to guess, that's what the inside of her mind looks like. And I think that's so cool. But she's also very intelligent and she is very intuitive. And I really love her character a lot.
I do love her as well. She's one of my favorites. She's so unique, and she doesn't care about what people say about her, like about Dad. I mean, she does care, and you see it. Like in the movies, they just show her like this dreamy girl, but in the books, she actually snaps at Ron more than once. Like,
oh yeah,
like stop being such an ass.
The scene in the book where they get on the thestrals and she sits side saddle on it, and she's just like, and she like has to help Ron up onto one, and then she gets on her horse and she's just sitting there like, okay, let's go. Like if she has any fear, you don't see it on her face.
I love that she is who she is. Like she doesn't follow social cues.
No, she
Because
doesn't.
why? Like, that's so ordinary, as she would say.
I think she does it just because she is 100% fine with being herself. She doesn't try to be anybody else.
Let's talk about Hermione. Like, Hermione is my favorite character, I think, in the entire series. I really like her in this book because of several reasons. She can get dark if she wants, and I love that. She's so loyal. She has no limits to get what she wants. Like, she has morals, yes, but still, like, when they get the first meeting in the DA, Hermione makes them sign this piece of paper and everything, and gets enchantment in the paper. She doesn't tell anyone. Like,
yeah,
she's like, I'm gonna curse you if you break like your word, but I'm not gonna tell you. Just sign this.
Yeah. But I think that's like the most ingenious thing, though, because she knew if somebody messed up, that they would know exactly who it was, and she wanted to make sure that it was awful for a teenager at least.
I love how bitchy she is when she calls Rita Skeeter.
Oh my god, yes.
I love that scene. Like, she calls her and like, you're my bitch. I have you in my hand. Like, do do everything I said you have to do, because if not, I'm gonna challenge you to the ministry.
Not only does she have that hold over Rita, she also talks to her like, I own your ass. Because she does. It's blackmail. She's blackmailing, and she knows it. She doesn't care.
Yeah, and she enjoys it. I love it. Oh my god, I
Yes.
love that part. I didn't remember that part.
I also really like the coin she made.
Oh, the Protean charm.
The coin that changes. Yeah. So like that, she's smart beyond her years. Like, she's great.
She's just brilliant. That's I love her.
Okay, so why don't we talk a little bit about the Room of Requirement? So the Room of Requirement comes out when it's needed. Like, at one point, Dumbledore says that he really needed a bathroom, and it was there. That room could literally be anything. And when it opens up, it's got tables with gadgets and a big space to practice and little pillows they can like throw each other on with magic. Like, the first time I read the book, actually even like the third or fourth time I read the book, I didn't appreciate the room I appreciated it for being there, and I appreciate it for giving our characters a home. But I didn't appreciate the structural integrity of the room itself and how it's sentient. It decides, like, what sort of magic gave a part of the castle to decide when someone needs it badly enough. Like, that's pretty cool.
I think it never ceases to amaze me, like, how Hogwarts is so alive.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a living being, you know? When they entered the Room of Requirement, they said, like, it's like the castle wants us to fight back. And I feel like that's so accurate.
Yeah.
You know, because the room, and it's fascinating because the room is, it just is, and you just have to go along with it.
Like you said, the castle's alive, right? So, like, think about the Sorting Hat too, because like the Sorting Hat at the beginning, we didn't say this, and I can't believe we didn't, but at the beginning of the book, the Sorting Hat sings a song, and it's more like a warning. And like the hat is just supposed to like tell you what house you're in, but like the hat, then I forget who says it, but they said that like anytime that there's like a big thing that's going to happen or something's terrible going on in the world, like the hat warns the school and the body of the school.
I think it's nearly Headless Nick.
Okay. But I was like, that's just that the hat is basically like the room. Like it wants to warn, it wants to help fight, it wants to do something. But then like the castle is alive in itself because like it's got moving walls and staircases. It's got, ghosts running through it. You got Peeves that's like causing havoc every 5 seconds.
And while we're talking about Peeves, let's talk about the twins, because this is their book.
Oh yeah.
This is their book.
Well, not only do they wreak havoc in such a way that the teachers themselves are like, this is great. This is fine. We're helpless. Oh no, Umbridge.
And they are so smart. Like they have a really head for business, and they are really smart. Even Flitwick says when they make this swamp to upset Umbridge, like he says, like, I'm gonna live a little bit here because it's such a fine work of magic.
Yeah.
He's amazed.
It's like a memorial to them too. It's like, these were some of the smartest kids to ever come to Hogwarts, even though they didn't technically graduate.
And they are so great. I love their humor so much. I laugh along with them. Like I love this scene in the beginning of the book when Harry gets to Grimmauld Place and he talks with the twins. Like no, he's talking with with Hermione and Ron, and he's screaming at them. And then the twins like apparate beside him and said, like, Harry, I thought I heard your like sweet voice or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so.
Or like the scene where they apparate into the room and they like land on the boys' beds. Like that was funny too. They're great. They're great characters. They've actually got a really good arc too. Like I have a special place in my heart for a lot of the characters, but these two characters have to be the best characters that she wrote. That I'm like, because none of these characters are just side characters. If they weren't in the story wouldn't be the same. The story wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I agree. I love Fred and George, and they have so many great moments in this book.
So the DA, or Dumbledore's army, or whatever you want to call it, when it starts up as like, okay, well, Harry, you're going to teach us this crap, right? And then he gets like, first he doesn't know what he's doing, and then he finds himself in class like creating lesson plans in his head. And I think the progression of the DA itself was a really good storyline within the story, because they go from being like kids that they never learned anything, and they're learning from a kid that learned like the bare bone basics of how to protect himself. Like when he talks about Expelliarmus and what's his name, Michael, Ginny's boyfriend. The heck is his name now? Yeah, he was like, oh, Expelliarmus. He's like, well, it got me through fighting Dumbledore, not Dumbledore. It got me through fighting Voldemort, and he was like, okay.
That line, I just laughed so much with that line when he said, like, yeah, it's a really useful term. It's a really useful spell. And I laughed so much because I was like, no shit, you use it for everything. Like,
yeah, he really does, doesn't it? But so like he goes from like teaching them Expelliarmus to teaching them how to, form their own Patronuses, until a certain Miss Thing goes and tells on them because
Marietta Edric.
She's an idiot. She's an idiot.
She really is, and she's friends with Cho, and I don't like Cho, and
I don't like Cho either, and I think it's partly because, like, I get it, she's upset she lost her boyfriend, like, but like, if you really were that upset about him, why would you be dating Harry?
Yeah, and she's so. I can get like someone, like some girl that likes Harry feeling threatened by Hermione. I can get it. Like,
I don't.
I see it. I
Because
see it
there's never
because
been
like I
anything
remind
romantic between them.
I know, and but they don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
Now I can see why she would get jealous, but it's their first date, and I was so angry when they went on their first date to Hogsmeade, and Harry mentioned Hermione, and she was like, "Oh, but you wanted to be with her," and you and
I can't stand that. I can't stand that. I couldn't stand that as a teenager. I can't stand that as an adult. I don't like her as a character. I think she's too whiny. I think she's needy. I think that she believes because she's upset the world should revolve around her. I don't like her. I don't like her.
and Harry is like having a horrible time, and she just cares about her.
But back to Marietta, and this actually brings us back to McGonagall too. The scene in the office where she's in the office with Harry and McGonagall, and then like the rest of the people, and they're trying to arrest Dumbledore, and they all like fall out, and like Minerva like kind of like shield both Marietta and Harry. I'm just like, look at her risking her life for these children. She's a beast. Like I love
I love her.
her.
I really like that scene too. And I love that like Kingsley tells Fudge after Dumbledore did this scene with like disappearing with his phoenix. And Kingsley tells Fudge like, you may not like Dumbledore, but you cannot deny that he has style.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, because like you know, and Dumbledore even says he had to knock out Kingsley too, just so it didn't look suspicious.
yeah.
So, and then he's like, all right, lay back down on the floor and pretend you were knocked out too. Oh, everybody's fine. No time has happened.
Yeah, I really
I love that. I love that part of the book. And he's like, oh, you think you're going to arrest me? That's cute. That's cute.
like who told you like I'm gonna let you arrest me? Like, let's be
Yeah.
real. And he's smiling the whole time. And one
Like
thing that I love about Dumbledore is like he laughs like at other people's stupidity in such a way that they don't realize that he's mocking them.
Mm-hmm. I think all in all, from beginning to end, this book has a lot going for it. But the best part of the book is when the kids decide that they're going to the Ministry of Magic. And then after they get there, they have to go through like all those like doors. And that one door they go through and it's got like the brains, those little brains. Like that freaked me out. Like even as an adult reading it, like I'm like, ew, that's gross.
Yeah, that was, and they attack Ron. The fight in the Ministry is really good.
Oh yeah.
I really, we didn't
I think it's arguably like I think arguably it's the other than the final battle of Hogwarts, it's the best battle in the book itself. Like or in the series itself, excuse me, because it's action packed. There's a lot of threat to the characters. The kids actually get hurt. They do get the prophecy, obviously, but it breaks and shatters. Not that they necessarily need the little globe itself. Like once they know what the prophecy is, they don't technically need it anymore. There's just a lot of moving parts to that whole fight, and then we lose Sirius, and we don't just lose his spirit, we lose his body too. Like he just right through the veil. No more Sirius. And the only people that could see or not see but hear originally behind the veil were Luna and Harry. And then I'm assuming after everybody seeing Sirius die that they could all hear it after that too.
Yeah, actually, but not everyone saw Sirius die. Like Hermione wasn't conscious. Ron was too. Like they were hit by very powerful spells.
Yeah.
Like, Hermione and Ron, I really like how the whole fight played out, because as you said, it was action packed, and there were high stakes here. Like although we know that our main characters are not gonna die, our main characters, they got pretty hurt. Hermione got unconscious. Harry, and that scene when Neville was trying to help Harry,
Up the stairs, yeah.
but he couldn't talk well.
I think that his character grew so much in the book in general, but during that part is when I think that was the peak of his growth for the whole book. Like, I think that was the peak because he was like, I'm going to grab Harry. I'm going to help him, even though I'm hurting. And then he loses it. And it's like, ah, shit. But I think he had one of the crappier ends of the stick in the battle, but I also think that he did really well.
Now, and it's interesting. I think it's a point in where everyone's out and they're like the two chosen ones, the only ones standing, like side by side.
I wonder if the author did that on purpose.
I think.
Yeah.
I think so.
Maybe she did, maybe she didn't, but it was a really good ending to that whole point in the book.
Lastly, let's talk about Voldemort a little bit.
All right, he should be named
as the drama queen he is.
Oh yeah.
Like he keeps like making these complex schemes. Like he built everything up the entire year for Harry to go to the ministry, and so he didn't have to go.
Yeah.
But he goes anyway.
The dreams where he's just like, what's behind the door, Harry?
Hold on.
I'm testing. Oh. Yeah. You should use that for your thumbnail. Oh, that's great. I love it. You said that he was planting these images into Harry's head so that way he could go get it for him versus him having to go, and then he just goes anyway. That doesn't just show that he's a drama queen, it shows that he's hella impatient. And I just think that not only did he try to play Harry, he ended up playing himself in the end because he didn't realize how strong Harry was, or the love and camaraderie that his friends had, him and his friends had. He didn't what's the word? He didn't calculate that part.
Yeah, that's true. But I think like he keeps like he does this all the time, and he always does it at the end of the year for I don't know, for some reason. But
that's how the book has to end. Drama.
He cares about Harry's education.
Yes, he does. He wants Harry to get a full education before he murders him.
And he didn't even wait, like he didn't even have to wait a thing, because Harry went to the ministry, everything broke, and I don't think it happened more than an hour, like between Harry and the guys getting into the ministry and Voldemort showing up.
Well, that's a really interesting point, because if you think about the timeline, and this is where it could be another plot hole, if you think about the timeline, Voldemort had been there, or had been on his way there when the kids were on their way there.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I didn't think about that.
Yep. Unless he was like hanging out, like living near the Ministry of Magic or something, but I doubt that. I think that he either that's a plot hole that nobody noticed, or maybe we're just now figuring out, or he was planning on being there all along. So
but that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, nope, wouldn't make sense. Hey, we found a plot hole.
A new one.
A new one.
There is another really interesting plot hole that I just realized in this book. At the beginning, when Harry receives the letter that he is expelled from Hogwarts for performing underage magic and stuff, and you're like, all right. But then when the order comes to help Harry, and Tonks goes to Harry's room and pack his trunk to go to Hogwarts, to go to Grimmauld Place, I'm sorry, she uses magic. And you could say like, yeah, but it's in the Wizard's Wands, but it's not, because in book
she's not underage though.
No, but in book 2, when Dobby performs the hover charm, the ministry gives Harry a letter, sent Harry a letter because he supposedly performed underage magic because the trace works with the location of the wizard, and if they're not wizards around and they're just muggles, then he's the only wizard that he's supposed to be there, so he's the responsible. But he received that letter in book 2 because of Dobby, and in book 5 he receives this letter and it's like, yeah, you perform underage magic, but then Tonks performs magic in the same place,
but he doesn't get a letter,
but it doesn't happen anything to him. So yeah, that's another plot hole. I was like, this trace has a really weird way of working. So what do you think about the book as a whole?
I think that this book is a pivotal point in the entire series, and without everything that happens in it, the end of the book would have looked so much different. I was trying to say the end of the series would have looked so much different. I think this is, I think I told you this before. I don't know if I said this to anybody else, but this is my favorite Harry Potter book. It used to be The Goblet of Fire when I was younger. I have read that book more than all the other books put together. But this one as an adult, I love so much more. And I know some people think this book is a little slower than the other books, but it needs to be to get all the information.
I love this book a lot. My favorite one has always been The Goblet of Fire as well. And I think it stays that way, but this has always been my second one and I love it. I also think that it's a pivotal moment in the series. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so Voldemort came back in book 4. Now Voldemort is scheming behind the scenes and he comes out. This whole political issue, this political maneuver in the ministry, I think it's really interesting to see how society works. Harry also comes to know about the prophecy. We come to know what is actually going on. He has to defeat Voldemort in the end, like, because there is a prophecy. And Dumbledore is finally
that only one of them can live.
Yeah. And Dumbledore is finally telling the truth, although he is holding information still. But he is finally coming to Harry and tell him the truth. And so many things happen, so many characters grow, so many amazing characters come to the front, like Ginny and Luna and Neville.
And we get to see the real Mad Eye in this book.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We come to know Mad Eye, actually.
Yeah, the real one.
And we suffer, I think, the first death of a dear character. I don't know. A lot of people love Cedric. I just don't care. And
I didn't care. Cedric was like, oh no, he's dead. But I didn't have an attachment to him or anything.
But I feel like here we come to see the real stakes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We're going to lose
what
we love.
Shit goes down. This is the book. This is the beginning to the end. I had a wonderful time talking about Harry Potter with you. And I appreciate you having me a part of your Harry Potter trilogy videos. Series videos.
Yeah, thank you so much for buddy reading the book with me, chatting with me about these books. I love talking about Harry Potter and having someone to gush about it it's awesome. So thanks for the chat, thanks for the buddy read,
and thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching, guys. Bye.
Bye.